All right. Greetings, class. Welcome to Psych B5, Spring 22, or yeah, 2022. I'm still getting used to saying that semester. I haven't written it very much yet, so it hasn't really sunk in. Okay, so this is our behavioral stats class, sometimes called psych stats, but really it's just an introduction to the basic foundations of statistics. So in this video, I thought what I would do is I would just go over the syllabus and try to anticipate and answer any questions you might have about the class. And of course, if you have more, just contact me and let me know. So I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to go over the syllabus just like we would on the first day of class if we were face to face. Okay, so here is my syllabus. Make that a little bigger. There we go. And we're all in the right place. I like to start off my syllabi with a quote. So here's one that kind of informs my take and my experience with using statistics. It's by Kurt Levine, who's considered one of the forefathers of social psychology. And social psychology is where I have my research background. And Levine says, no research without action and no action without research. So he's making a point that um, there's almost this like symbiotic relationship between the application or utility of statistics and then how do we learn about new ways, how do we formulate new statistical procedures through new types of problems that arise in the real world. So he's saying, there's utility in what you're learning in stats, and if you're just doing math for math's sake, that's fine. But statistics were really created and are really used to understand something very practical about our lives. So I like this one, and it informs me when I'm going over this class to think, okay, how can we use this information, or how is this information used in ways in our real lives to actually impact us? So it's not just like doing math because math is fun, right? That kind of thing. I'm going into this thinking that most of you don't think math is fun. And so instead, we're going to think about this class as a science class where statistics are our major tool. So we got to learn about that tool and we got to learn how to use it. Okay, so if I haven't said already, my name is Jordan Rude. And the best way to get a hold of me is to email me. And you could tell I've been at BC a long time because I have the short email address, just jrude@bakersfieldcollege.edu. I don't have any extra periods and numbers in there like a lot of you guys do because I've been around for a long time. So I have an old, shorter email address, but just email me. Also, I'm going to post these. They're not, I don't have it ironed out yet. So I don't have it ready for this video, but I will post office hours to Canvas. And what I like to do typically is have a time where there's an office hour during the day and then there's an office hour in the evening, so that if you say like work all day, then you can only talk in the evening, only receive help in the evening, that I can still be available for you. So I'll work that out. I'll post that to Canvas, put it in an announcement, so it'll always be there. Okay, so for this class, I know I've already had some questions about this. Um, this class is 100% online, and it's 100% asynchronous online. So what that means is that there is no mandatory meeting time for our class. You can work at your own pace. And what I will do is I'll supply all the information that you need to be successful in the class. So I'll make lecture videos for every single chapter, supplemental videos too. I think it will help you learn. And then there'll be like quizzes and other assignments that you do kind of at your own pace. Though there are due dates, of course, you have to be cognizant of that. But there's no time where you have to meet with me online. But I will put up office hours should you want to or need to meet with me. Okay, so we're on campus. I'm not going to read both of these to you, the course description and the learning outcomes, because they are essentially the same thing. And so if I just focus on the learning outcomes, this is what you're supposed to know once you complete this class. So they're always supposed to start with on a completion of the course, right? Or we're supposed to say upon successful completion of the course, but you get the idea. And these kind of go in order for what we're going to talk about over the next 16 weeks. Like the first thing we'll go over is how to identify and explain levels of measurement. So that just means like not all data is the same. Sometimes you use a number because it just puts things into a category. But other times, you use a number and you can actually like square root it, you can divide it, you can do different things with it. And there's some kind of like constant there. It goes beyond just using the number as a label. So we'll talk about data and terminology used in analysis, of course. Every chapter is going to introduce a little bit more terminology to you. All right, the second learning outcome is that you'll be able to look at descriptive and inferential statistics. And if you don't know what those mean yet, that is perfectly okay. Like I'm going into this class thinking you don't have any clue what that means. So don't worry about that. Just for now, you can maybe, if this helps, like the first half of the class will be descriptive stats and the second half are inferential stats. It basically boils down like this. In the first half of the class, we'll be talking about, imagine we have a bunch of numbers in front of us and each number comes from a different person. So maybe you got like 100 numbers in front of you that represents 100 people's scores. And you just want to describe what do those people think or feel or how did they behave. And you're just talking about those people you have immediate access to. So you can describe them. So that's descriptive stats. In the second half of the class, a little more complex, we go, okay, well, we want to measure, 50,000 people, but there's no way we get 50,000 people to take our survey, or can we observe these 50,000? So instead, we'll take a small subset of them. Maybe we can get like 1,000. So we measure 1,000 of them. Well, now we got this problem of, realistic problem, like, does this 1,000 people actually represent this large group of people? We didn't have that problem. We were just describing the data in front of us. So once we use one small group to represent a large group, that's inferential statistics. That's like the second half of the class. Don't sweat it. We'll go over all this stuff slowly. Okay, number 3, upon completion of the course, be able to interpret statistical analyses based on behavioral and social research problems. This one I think is crucial. This is the important one for this class, I believe. Because especially now when we live in this really like data driven world, and then also this very politicized country that we live in, you've noticed this, I'm sure. You'll have like one social topic and everything becomes polarized and politicized into like two different ways of thinking, and each group has their own data, and a lot of people are not skilled in thinking critically about that data. And so this class can help you with that too. That's part of the way I think about this class. So if you teach science that uses statistics, especially behavioral science, there's this debate that goes on. Should professors like me, like, should I teach this class from a consumer perspective, meaning I'm going to teach you about how to use these numbers because they're like numbers in your real world, so you can learn how to be, effective consumers. Or am I training you to be scientists? And that would be a little slightly different type of approach. And I kind of say, we're going to meet in the middle. We're going to try our best to do both of those things. We're going to pretend that we're scientists, but we're also going to look at these kind of real problems that help us to be better consumers of our world. So we're going to kind of look at both of those. And one way to think about it is, I want you guys to have questions anytime somebody makes some type of persuasive argument using data, using numbers. If they say, believe what I believe because look at these numbers, that you can say, I don't have to take this at face value, that you're correct based on these numbers. I have some questions, because there's no such thing as a perfect study. And so that means it doesn't matter how great the math worked out if the study was terrible, right? So you want to know the types of questions to ask. And so I think that's informative for both a consumer and for a scientist, right? So we'll talk about that as we go through our class. And I've had a lot of experience within academia, but also outside of academia and other types of institutions, both in the public and the private sector, working as an analyst and as a methodologist. And so I can bring some of those examples in when we're going over new types of processes and say, hey, here's the way that I've used this, or that people use this in kind of the real world outside of the college classroom. So that doesn't kind of get stagnant. So, like, oh, okay, this is relevant, right? And has huge impacts and implications for our lives. All right, moving on. The materials for this class, there's a few things you need. You need a calculator, You don't need a fancy calculator. You just certainly don't even need a scientific calculator. The one on your phone will work just fine. And then also, this class uses software, analytic software. And there's a couple different ways you can do that. I made videos for both different types of software, and I'm not picky about which one you use. It's really up to you. So if you have Excel that you can do statistical analyses with, then that is cool. You can use that. Or you can use what's called SPSS, and you don't have to buy that. We have a way for you to get plugged in through BC remotely from your device. Um, it's probably the easiest for this class if you do have access to some form of computer. You can do these things on your phone, but it's a little clunky. Using Excel or using SPSS on your phone is a little tough. So if you've got a laptop or a desktop, that's what I would advise. You can still get it done on your phone, but it's harder. I'll just be honest. Okay, but we'll go more into that in a bit, because we're not going to get to like the software for a few weeks. And then the last thing, I don't realize I'm going backwards here, 3, 2, 1, is the book itself. So you need the book. It's called The Process of Statistical Analysis in Psychology. And you know what? I have a picture of it. Let me see. Let me pull it up. Hello. Let me pull up my screen. There it is. So the book looks like this. This one over here by McBride. You don't need anything extra. You don't need to buy SPSS. You don't need to buy the lab manual, just the book itself, or just this book. So if you find it used, go for it. It might also still be on Google Books. I'm going to show you something that the people at the bookstore on campus definitely don't want you to see. Well, let me see if I can go to Google Books over here. There we go. So now I'm searching in Google Books. I'm going to look for McBride statistical process in psychology. I'm just going to check something. Ooh, look at that. There it is. And let's see if they have it up here for free. Sometimes you can find books for free on this page. Oh, no way. Okay, so you got a lot of the book online already for free, but it looks like some don't work. We're definitely going to need these tables. We're definitely going to need that chapter, so you won't have access to those. But I suppose you could use this if you're waiting in the meantime. We've ordered a book. You're waiting in the meantime for it to show up. You could go online and use this. It looks like it'll work just as well. Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that was there. All right. But you do need a book for the class. Like I said, you don't need anything extra though. Just the book. There we go. Let's get back to the syllabus. So book, software, and a calculator. Okay, so let's move on to BC policies. So the first thing here is that if you go through DSPS, use their services for any reason, then let me know. I'll work with you, of course. DSPS, by the way, if you think you need their services, go see them or go, contact them right away, because it's not up to me whether you get these services. It's really up to DSPS. I will work with you no matter what you need, but you do need to go through them first. All right, so go ahead and contact DSPS if you think you need their accommodation services. All right, now next thing. So I have all these. I didn't put the links here because they're available on Canvas as links, but it's basically all the student support services stuff you might need that the campus offers. I put links to those in my Canvas shell for you. So they're listed here, but you can find them on the Canvas shell. Anything you want, from financial aid to counseling to veteran services, it's all there. All right. I got info for public safety. You can put that in your phone as well. We're not on campus, so I'm not really tripping about that. I got a link for a better BC if you want to see what's going on with all the construction on campus. And let's get to course policies. Okay, so the course policies, sometimes it's called netiquette. This first point here. which stand for network etiquette, but it's really just about being respectful, being respectful to each other, being respectful to me, and so on, in the class. And if you're someone who can't do that, well, then maybe this class isn't for you. I'll be quite frank, right? So I want you to be respectful of each other and respectful to me. On those lines, I am a ally for the LGBTQIA plus community. I have people that I love, friends and family members who belong to the community, and I'm an ally cheering them on the sides. Um, and what that means for us, for our class, really is that if you need resources that are related to this community, you can come talk to me. I can help you out. It also means um, that I won't, what I want to say, I won't permit disrespect toward this community in our class. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. I don't want anyone to be disrespectful toward anyone for any reason, but I have specific, training on this topic. Okay, so moving on to late work policy. The late work policy stuff for this class, the way I kind of do this is that if you have quite long stretches of time before you have assignments that are due, so I don't think it'll be an issue for you, getting your work turned in on time. However, I realize the times we're living in, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen from week to week, sometimes day to day. So if someone gets sick or some other type of emergency, let me know and I'll work with you, if you need some extra time. But in general, I don't think you'll need it, quite honestly. In fact, you can work ahead if you want to get ahead. But all the assignments are due on the dates that they're listed on Canvas, and I'll show you those in a sec. The way I do, like, if sometimes people ask, do you allow for partial credit? In most classes I don't, but in this one I do, because you really need to get your hands dirty, when it comes to like the analyses that we're doing in order to progress and to move on. So I don't want you to to skip something just because you were going to turn it in late. So like it says here, I'll accept your assignments late until you've been tested on them. So for example, it says here, I'll accept assignments for chapters 1 through 6 for half credit until you've been tested on them. Right. So if you turn something in late, like chapters 1 through 3, they're due and you get them in a week later, I'll still give you half credit for them if you haven't been tested on that material just yet. If it's after the test, then sorry, you're out of luck. Right. So I would say, since this relates to the drop policy, since this class is completely asynchronous, online only, like no mandatory class meetings, there's still lecture videos that you're going to watch every week. And there's pros and cons to being asynchronous. The pros are you can kind of go at your own pace. You can work ahead if you want, because all the material is ready for you. And the cons are that you have to have some self-discipline and you have to actually do it. Right. So I would say, in your schedule, make 3 to 4 hours each week that you go, this is my statistics time. Probably more than that. Ideally, it'd probably take you 3 hours to 4 hours to get through all the lecture videos. Not to mention the time it takes for you to do your quizzes, things like that. But yeah, the drop policy for that information is that if I don't receive assignments from you, a couple weeks after they're due, I'm going to drop you from the class. I'll probably send you an email first, let you know what's going on. But that's just because we've had a lot of people. This is strange, but I didn't know this until recently. A lot of kind of fake students in class, like enrolling in class and then collecting financial aid money, that kind of thing. They're never showing up. And they're relying on professors just not dropping them so they don't have to pay back that money, which is pretty wild. So everybody's trying to stay on top of that, because we won't want fake students taking up seats from real students online. So there's a drop policy. Just, if you're going to be late for some reason, let me know, because I would hate to drop you when you were just going to turn assignments in late. Okay, so speaking of the assignments, let's look at the assessment for the class. That's probably what you're wondering, like, how much busy work is this going to be? I don't like busy work. I don't want to grade busy work. I want to do meaningful work. So yeah, there's some things that might feel like a drag sometimes. But I'm trying to give you enough practice right? So you'll be successful when you get to the exams. So for the exams, you got 3 of those, and they're 50 points each. The exams are primarily multiple choice. You'll have some later where you have like fill in the blank types of answers, um, but still primarily multiple choice. Each chapter has its own quiz, and those are multiple choice. Excuse me, multiple choice, 1 point each, and 10 questions. So nothing too taxing. And then with each chapter, you're going to have some type of discussion or application assignment. Sometimes it's a discussion where I'll have you guys talk about something, or text back and forth about something. And other times it's more of an application assignment where you're going to submit work to me that shows me how to do the procedures that we're talking about, not just select the correct answer on a multiple choice test. So each chapter has a quiz and some other form of assignment. Okay, now there's 2 other categories of assignments in the class. Some of those that you're going to do on the weekly basis are, this is probably say like software assignments instead of SPSS, because you can use Excel if you want. So SPSS or Excel assignments, and these are not super tough, but I do want to introduce you to the way that people actually calculate statistics now. They use rarely by hand. It's some form of software that people use. So I want to show you a couple different versions. And so you're going to have assignments related to that software. And the things you can just upload to Canvas to me. Okay, now the last category is the project. So you do have a project in this class, and because the best way to learn about statistics is to actually, like I used this term or this phrase before, get your hands dirty and actually try to answer a question yourself. So what I've done for you is I've collected data from previous classes, and I've got an Excel spreadsheet of the data on all these different variables that people have been measured for. And what I want you to do is find out, pick 2 of those, at least 2 of those variables, and tell me like how and why you think they might be related to each other. And then as we go through the class, you'll learn how to find out like if they actually are related, and then how to talk about and describe how these variables may or may not be related to each other. So it's a project. We're going to turn it in increments. Like the first one is, something as simple as, here's the 2 variables I want to pick and why, and how I think they're related. Here's my hypothesis, right? And the second one is more like, okay, now you have the data for the variables you selected. Now you can run an analysis and then submit that to me. And then the third one is, what did you find? Now show the class what you found, right? That kind of thing. So it shouldn't be super stressful. I hope that you find it interesting. So you'll turn those in increments. Now let's look at the last thing, the tentative course schedule. So here's how I like to lay out the course. You can see on the first week of school, we have chapter 1, why statistics, kind of an intro, and then also research methods. And then we'll have chapters 2 and 3 the next week, where we look at how to organize data, how to pull out some basic descriptives, and then we'll talk about what probability means and what sampling means. And then on the Monday, right? So how I think about this is you'll have a whole extra weekend to do all the work on these 3 chapters. And then it's due on Monday, the 31st. You can see the quizzes for chapters 1 through 3, and the discussion and application assignments for chapters 1 through 3 are due, right? And then that week you start chapter 4, then we go through 4, 5, 6. And then you have, the next Monday, you've got the chapter 4 through 6 quizzes are due, and the application 4 through 6 questions are due. And what you're going to work on that week is the first project assignment and the first exam, and that's due Monday. So everything in the class is due on Monday, right? Every time you turn something in, try to make that as simple as possible. But it's not every Monday you have to turn something in. So just keep track of those dates in Canvas. And if you want to, I've got them on the syllabus here. If there's ever some kind of issue where they don't match up, sometimes I make mistakes where there's a date on Canvas that is different from the date that's on this syllabus. Go with the date that's on Canvas. That's the one we're going to use. And that one will typically be more lenient anyway. So you can kind of see how our class breaks down. Most of the time, we're just looking at 1 chapter per week. I think there's only 1 exception on that second week. Yeah. So lots of time to focus in on the work. Okay, so that's the syllabus in a nutshell. I hope you're not super intimidated by this class. A lot of people are scared to take stats, but I was too when I was a student. But honestly, we're it's an introduction to stats. We're going to learn the basics. You're going to walk away, hopefully feeling empowered. That's what I want, because you'll never look at the news the same way again. You'll never hear persuasive arguments the same way again after taking this course. At least I hope, right? That's one of my goals. All right, guys. Well, um, welcome to class. I look forward to working with you all this semester, and I hope to hear from you all very soon. Like I said, if I didn't answer your question in this video, hit me up, send me an email, and I will get back to you. All right.